In the stillness of the night, when stars twinkle high above and the world succumbs to the embrace of sleep, let us embark on a journey through the labyrinths of history. We will follow the traces of lost knowledge, those treasures of thought that were buried beneath the sands of time. We will speak of vanished books and manuscripts whose pages held secrets now lost to humanity. Imagine an ocean. Its surface is calm and serene, but in its depths lie unexplored worlds. It is the same with knowledge. We possess only a small fraction of the wisdom accumulated by generations, while the rest, like a huge iceberg, is hidden from our eyes in the abyss of centuries. And unfortunately, a significant part of this heritage will forever remain unattainable to us. From the dawn of writing, when the first clay tablets, fragile papyri, and carefully crafted parchments became carriers of information, humanity has strived to perpetuate its reflections, scientific insights, and captivating stories. The word possessed truly colossal power. It was capable of elevating the individual, preserving important events in memory, and passing on accumulated experience to future generations. The book was a priceless treasure, a reliable repository of wisdom, and an inexhaustible source of inspiration. But what happens when this treasure disappears without a trace? When precious pages fade under the influence of time, ink erases like memories, and knowledge becomes inaccessible to eager minds. Throughout the long history of humankind, there have been many tragic reasons leading to the loss of books. Among them are devastating fires, bloody wars, religious conflicts, relentless natural disasters, and political repressions aimed at suppressing freedom of thought. Sometimes these were fatal accidents, tragic coincidences, but sometimes also deliberate actions aimed at destroying and consigning valuable knowledge to oblivion. One can imagine majestic libraries, vast collections of knowledge that existed many centuries ago. Imagine scholars painstakingly working on ancient manuscripts, philosophers passionately debating the meaning of existence. But it is also worth imagining how these libraries were mercilessly destroyed, reduced to ruins, and the accumulated knowledge lost forever, leaving a gaping void in the cultural heritage of humanity. Today, we embark on a fascinating journey in the footsteps of lost treasures of the mind. Our goal is to penetrate the essence of the lost, unravel the reasons for this loss, and lift the veil on the mysteries that history still holds. Prepare for an exciting journey that can bring peace and immerse you in the embrace of sleep. Chapter 1. Ancient Libraries, Cradles of Civilization and Their Sad Fate. Part 1. The Library of Alexandria, the Myth of Catastrophe. Let's begin our investigation with perhaps the most famous treasury of antiquity, the Library of Alexandria. Its name is still shrouded in an aura of mystery and reverence. Imagine a place where all the knowledge of the world was accumulated, where streams of wisdom flowed, where outstanding geniuses of their era worked. Alexandria, a city in Egypt founded by Alexander the Great in the 4th century BC, rapidly transformed into one of the largest cultural centers of antiquity. It was here, during the reign of the Ptolemies, that the grandiose idea of creating a library designed to unite all existing knowledge was born. This was not just a repository of books, but an entire research complex, a mausoleon, which in ancient Greek means Temple of the Muses. Try to imagine the scale of this project. The Ptolemies sent their representatives throughout the known world. They acquired books, ordered copies from scribes, seized manuscripts from ships arriving in Alexandria. It is said that ships delivering new scrolls to Alexandria were required to hand them over to the famous library for copying. The originals were returned to their owners, and the copies became a valuable asset of the library. Thanks to this wise policy, the library's collection grew by leaps and bounds, transforming it into the largest and most significant book repository of the ancient world. Within the walls of the Library of Alexandria, outstanding minds and luminaries of science of that era worked. Here, Eratosthenes drew inspiration, first calculating the circumference of the Earth with amazing accuracy for that time. Aristarchus of Samos also worked here, ingeniously anticipating the heliocentric system of the universe, boldly declaring that the Earth revolves around the dazzling sun. Here, Hipparchus collected invaluable data about the stars and compiled detailed catalogues, rightfully considered one of the founders of astronomy. Within these walls, work was in full swing on mathematical problems, medical treatises, philosophical inquiries, and philological studies. For centuries, the Library of Alexandria stood as a true center of science and culture, attracting the best minds from around the world. But alas, the glory of this great repository of books is inextricably linked to its tragic and sorrowful fate. The exact date and circumstances of the library's demise remain a subject of fierce debate and numerous speculations. Several versions of the tragedy exist, and none can claim absolute truth. One of the most common versions attributes the library's destruction to a devastating fire that broke out during military operations. In the turbulent times of the civil war between Julius Caesar and Pompey, specifically in 48 BC, the city of Alexandria witnessed a tragic conflagration. Legend has it that the flames, originating from ships in the harbor, quickly spread to nearby warehouses where the priceless scrolls of the famous library were carefully stored. However, there is an alternative viewpoint that places this destructive event at a later period, during the wars between the Romans and the Egyptians. Some historians associate the library's demise with the religious strife that engulfed Alexandria during the spread of Christianity. In those times, clashes between adherents of pagan beliefs and Christians were commonplace. In 391 AD, by order of Emperor Theodosius I, the temple of Serapis was destroyed, which, in addition to its religious significance, served as a repository for part of Alexandria's book treasures. It is assumed that Christians, driven by religious zeal, destroyed a significant number of manuscripts whose content contradicted their faith. However, there is also the opinion that the Library of Alexandria did not perish as a result of a single catastrophic event, but gradually declined over several centuries. According to this hypothesis, scrolls aged, their copying ceased, and the library building itself gradually fell into disrepair and was destroyed. Regardless of which version is closest to the truth, the sad fact remains unchanged. The Library of Alexandria disappeared from the face of the earth, leaving behind only regrets and conjectures. We will never know for sure what knowledge and treasures it held within its walls. It remains only to speculate and imagine how much invaluable information was irretrievably lost to humanity. One can only guess what discoveries were made in Alexandria, what philosophical treatises were written, what scientific knowledge was accumulated and lost. Perhaps the library contained original works by Homer, Euripides, and Sophocles, lost works by Aristotle and Plato, unpublished works by Euclid and Archimedes. Imagination paints pictures of the grandeur and magnificence of this legendary library, the loss of which was an irreparable loss for world culture and science. The image of majestic halls, where hundreds of thousands of scrolls, lovingly rewritten by human hands, filled every corner, has forever remained in the past. Learned men, immersed in their works, leaned over tables illuminated by the flickering light of oil lamps. Scribes, meticulously and carefully writing each letter on fragile papyrus, seemed to create a bridge between the past and the future. The air was filled with an atmosphere of unquenchable thirst for knowledge and intellectual pursuit. All this is irretrievably gone. The Library of Alexandria is not just a lost treasure, it is a symbol of loss, a reminder of how fragile human culture is and how easily we can lose what has been created by centuries of painstaking labor. It is a tale of a lost paradise of knowledge, a tragedy that makes us think deeply about the value of what we have today and about our duty to carefully preserve knowledge for future generations. Part 2 of our story is dedicated to other ancient libraries, each of which has contributed to the treasury of world culture. The Library of Alexandria certainly overshadowed all others in its scale, but it was not the only temple of knowledge in the ancient world. There were other libraries, perhaps not as grand, but no less significant for the history of mankind. We propose to take a short journey through time and space to look at some of these amazing places. We begin our journey with the library in Pergamon, an ancient city located in Asia Minor. Pergamon was the capital of the Pergamon Kingdom, which flourished in the Hellenistic era. The rulers of Pergamon, who came from the Attalid dynasty, were known as passionate admirers of culture and science. It was they who founded the library, which in its size and importance could rival the Alexandrian one. Like its famous rival, the library in Pergamon collected books from all corners of the known world. However, its contribution to the development of the book business was not limited to collecting alone. It was in Pergamon that parchment was invented, a writing material made from treated animal skin. Parchment proved to be much more durable and long-lasting than papyrus, which played a huge role in the spread of knowledge around the world. Legend has it that the once magnificent library in Pergamon, which numbered about 200,000 scrolls, shared the sad fate of many ancient collections of knowledge. There are several versions of its disappearance. One legend tells of the library's demise in a fire that broke out as a result of military clashes. Another version states that part of the priceless volumes were presented by Mark Antony as a gift to Cleopatra and transported to Alexandria, becoming part of the famous Library of Alexandria. Moving deeper into the centuries, into ancient Mesopotamia, we find ourselves in Assyria, where the library of King Ashurbanipal was located in the city of Nineveh. It was one of the first systematized repositories of knowledge in human history. Ashurbanipal, who ruled in the 7th century BC, was known for his education and insatiable thirst for knowledge, which prompted him to pay special attention to the collection and preservation of ancient wisdom. The Library of Ashurbanipal was a collection of thousands of clay tablets, covered with cuneiform characters. These tablets contained a variety of texts covering all spheres of life in ancient society: myths and legends, religious hymns and historical chronicles, scientific treatises and legal documents. Cuneiform, a complex writing system, used wedge-shaped characters imprinted on clay. The discovery of the Library of Ashurbanipal in the 19th century was a real sensation in the scientific world. Archaeological excavations revealed to researchers an invaluable source of information about the life, culture, and history of ancient Mesopotamia. Unfortunately, time has not spared many tablets, and some of them have been damaged or lost, which makes the study of this unique monument even more difficult. In ancient Greece, the cradle of democracy and philosophical thought, another significant treasury of knowledge was located in Athens. The city was home to several book collections, among which the library of Pisistratus, the Athenian tyrant, stood out. This ruler was passionate about collecting the works of Homer and other prominent Hellenic poets. In Athens, a culture of reading and enlightenment flourished, and libraries served as centers where people could enrich their minds, interact with each other, and exchange ideas. Unfortunately, the Athenian libraries could not survive to this day. Wars, devastating fires, and other tragic events of history erased them from the face of the earth. So what unites these ancient repositories of wisdom? First of all, their role as centers of knowledge and cultural development. They accumulated book wealth, attracted learned men, and contributed to the progress of science and education. Secondly, they suffered a sad fate. Most of them were burned or destroyed to the ground, and the knowledge they had accumulated was irretrievably lost. What factors led to the disappearance of these libraries? As already mentioned, these were wars, raging fires, natural disasters, and religious clashes. However, perhaps the key reason is the vulnerability of human culture. Knowledge is a fragile thread that is easily broken, and therefore its preservation requires constant effort and careful handling. Just imagine what horizons of knowledge would have opened up to humanity if these priceless treasures of knowledge had been preserved. We would have had the opportunity to enjoy previously unknown creations of ancient geniuses, to get acquainted with revolutionary scientific discoveries, and to delve deeper into the life and culture of ancient civilizations. The history of mankind would have appeared before us in a completely different, fuller, and brighter light. Unfortunately, this opportunity has been lost forever. We can only indulge in bitter regrets about what has been missed, speculate about what could have been, and make every effort to preserve those grains of wisdom that have come down to us. Ancient libraries serve as an eternal reminder of the pricelessness of knowledge and of our sacred duty to preserve it. They teach us to value the present and strive for new achievements, passing the baton of knowledge to future generations. Chapter 2: Mysteries of Alchemy and Hidden Knowledge. Part 1: Alchemy. In search of the Philosopher's Stone and the elixir of immortality. Now we will take a journey into a world full of secrets and mysticism, into the world of alchemy. Alchemy is not just a scientific discipline. It is a fusion of art, philosophy, and spiritual teaching. Alchemists were convinced of the ability of matter to transform, of the possibility of turning ordinary metals into gold, as well as of curing any disease. The key goal of alchemy was the search for the Philosopher's Stone, a mythical substance with the ability to turn base metals into gold and grant eternal life. Alongside the search for the legendary Philosopher's Stone, alchemists cherished the dream of creating the elixir of life, a panacea capable of granting longevity and healing from any ailment. In an effort to keep their knowledge secret from the uninitiated, alchemists developed an intricate system of symbols and allegories. Their works were replete with riddles, metaphors, and encrypted recipes, cloaked in a complex language inaccessible to those without the necessary knowledge and experience. The symbolism of alchemy was characterized by ambiguity and allowed for various interpretations. For example, the serpent swallowing its own tail, known as the Ouroboros, represented the cycle of life and death, as well as the process of transformation. The sun and moon symbolized the masculine and feminine principles, reflecting the processes occurring in nature. Various metals, such as lead, mercury, silver, and gold, also carried deep symbolic meaning. Many prominent scientists and thinkers were interested in alchemy. Among them was Paracelsus, a Swiss physician and alchemist, who made significant contributions to the development of medicine. Nicolas Flamel, a French scribe and alchemist, was said to have discovered the secret of the Philosopher's Stone. Even Isaac Newton, the brilliant physicist and mathematician, was fascinated by alchemy and devoted considerable time to studying this esoteric teaching. A veil of secrecy shrouded alchemical knowledge for several compelling reasons. First and foremost, alchemists feared the wrath of those in power and church officials. Alchemy was often branded as heresy, and its adherents were accused of having ties to dark forces and witchcraft, which could lead to severe punishment. In addition, alchemists sought to protect their discoveries from unscrupulous individuals who might use this knowledge as a tool for profit or a means of causing harm. They believed that the alchemical art should be passed on only to those who are ready for spiritual transformation and self-improvement. Unfortunately, many alchemical treatises have been irretrievably lost or destroyed. Some fell victim to the Inquisition, while others were hidden in secret places and forgotten. Only fragments of this knowledge have survived to this day, fragmented recipes and symbolic images like shards of a broken mirror. Imagine an alchemical workshop, a dim room barely lit by the flickering of oil lamps. Retorts, flasks, and distillation apparatus clutter the tables. Books covered in incomprehensible symbols are scattered everywhere. The alchemist, clad in a long robe, intently observes the crucible in which a mysterious process is taking place. The acrid smell of sulfur, mercury, and other chemical elements fills the air. Alchemy is a world full of mysteries and secrets, guarding its secrets behind locked doors. We will probably never know what treasures were hidden in alchemical texts. But alchemy is not just about the unsuccessful search for the Philosopher's Stone. It is a tireless pursuit of knowledge, of understanding the laws of nature and the human soul. It is a thorny path of self-improvement and spiritual ascent. Section 2 is devoted to an equally important topic: banned books and censorship, another facet of lost knowledge. Censorship, as a tool for controlling information, represents a restriction on freedom of speech and expression, which has been used for centuries to suppress alternative points of view, protect the interests of those in power, and maintain certain ideological attitudes. The history of censorship dates back to ancient times. Even then, rulers recognized the power of information and sought to control its dissemination, seeing this as a way to strengthen their power and prevent popular unrest. In the Middle Ages, censorship was largely in the hands of the Church, which exercised strict control over printing, determining which texts conformed to religious dogmas and which posed a threat to the faith. Religious prohibitions became a powerful tool of censorship. The Church compiled the famous Index Librorum Prohibitorum, indexes of prohibited books, which included works deemed heretical, contradictory to religious teachings, or morally corrupting. The works of many prominent authors ended up on these lists. For example, Giovanni Boccaccio's The Decameron, a collection of novellas wittily mocking the morals of medieval society, was banned for its frivolity and secular nature. The works of Voltaire, a French philosopher and writer known for his criticism of the Church and absolute monarchy were also banned for their anti-religious and anti-government orientation. Adolf Hitler's Mein Kampf, an ideological manifesto of Nazism, was banned after World War II as a work promoting hatred and genocide. Political censorship also played a significant role in history. Rulers of all stripes sought to control the information space in order to prevent criticism of their power, suppress revolutionary sentiments, and consolidate their position. Books that posed a threat to the ruling regime were mercilessly destroyed, and their authors and readers were subjected to brutal persecution. Tragic stories haunted the authors and readers of banned books. Writers faced severe punishments, imprisonment, exile, and even execution became their fate. Readers were also persecuted, their books confiscated and burned. However, despite the danger, people took risks, reading and distributing banned literature, driven by a belief in freedom of speech and the all-conquering power of knowledge. A legitimate question arises about the consequences of censorship for the progress of society and science. Censorship stifled creative potential, restricted freedom of thought, and hindered the dissemination of innovative ideas. It became an obstacle to the development of science, philosophy, and culture. Many discoveries and achievements were delayed or irretrievably lost due to censorship restrictions. But history shows that censorship never achieved its absolute goal, the complete destruction of knowledge. Despite the efforts of authorities and religious institutions, banned books continued their secret march, passed from hand to hand, hidden in secluded places. People showed ingenuity, bypassing censorship barriers, resorting to allegories and metaphors to convey their thoughts and ideas to an interested audience. Banned books became a symbol of the relentless struggle for freedom of speech and thought. They serve as a reminder that knowledge is a powerful force, and censorship is just a pathetic attempt to deprive people of this power. This is a narrative of the courage and resilience of people willing to risk their lives for their beliefs. It is worth thinking about the books that were once banned and the reasons that caused fear in those in power. It is important to remember those who read these books, who sacrifice their freedom for new knowledge and ideas. Banned books are an integral part of our history, which teaches us to value freedom of speech and carefully preserve the knowledge gained through the labor and risk of many generations. Chapter 3: Forgotten Writings of Civilizations that have sunk into oblivion. Part 1: Treasuries of Knowledge of Extinct Cultures. I propose to take a journey into the depths of centuries, to civilizations whose names remain only on the pages of history. These great cultures left monumental ruins, artifacts full of secrets, and most importantly, written sources testifying to their way of life, spiritual values, and scientific achievements. We will talk about libraries and archives that may have existed in these ancient societies, repositories of wisdom containing answers to questions that still haunt scientists and researchers. Let us recall just a few of these amazing civilizations. The Sumerians, inhabitants of ancient Mesopotamia, who gave the world the first known writing system, cuneiform. The Maya, creators of a developed civilization in Central America, known for their deep knowledge of mathematics and astronomy, as well as a complex system of hieroglyphic writing, which is still not fully deciphered. And of course, ancient Egypt, which left behind majestic architectural structures, mysterious hieroglyphic writing, and a rich literary heritage that still amazes the imagination. Each of these ancient civilizations had its own unique system of information recording. The Sumerians left their mark on clay tablets, skillfully scratching cuneiform symbols. The Maya, in turn, created complex hieroglyphic images that served as decoration for the walls of majestic temples, ancient codices, and exquisite ceramics. The Egyptians also used hieroglyphs, using them to cover stone surfaces, fragile papyri, and the walls of pharaohs' tombs with writings. It is logical to assume that these civilizations had something like libraries and archives, where knowledge and important documents were carefully stored. Perhaps these repositories were located in temples, palaces of rulers, and administrative buildings. Most likely, they contained sacred religious texts, detailed historical chronicles, legal documents, scientific treatises, and literary works. Unfortunately, these civilizations were not destined to survive. The reasons for their decline were varied: bloody wars, enemy invasions, devastating natural disasters, climate change, economic crises, and social upheavals. With the demise of civilizations, their knowledge disappeared. Many libraries and archives were irretrievably destroyed or lost. What was lost to humanity? Invaluable knowledge about the life, culture, and history of these ancient civilizations was lost. Modern scientists could have learned more about their religious beliefs, customs, scientific achievements, and works of art. Perhaps answers would have been found to questions that still remain an unsolvable mystery for researchers. One can only imagine what life was like in these extinct civilizations. Looking back, we see images of Sumerian scribes meticulously crafting cuneiform symbols on clay tablets, as if imprinting history itself into the malleable clay. Before our eyes appear Mayan priests, engrossed in reading ancient codices adorned with mysterious hieroglyphs like keys to secret knowledge. We see Egyptian scribes bent over papyri in the majestic shadow of the pyramids, immortalizing the deeds of pharaohs and ancient wisdom. And involuntarily, a poignant feeling of regret arises for those countless treasures of thought that were stored in these libraries and archives, now lost to us forever. We can only speculate about what knowledge was irretrievably lost in the abyss of time. But even the crumbs that have come down to us through the ages allow us to lift the veil of secrecy over these great civilizations. Archaeological excavations, like the meticulous work of detectives, allow us to extract from the depths of the earth artifacts that testify to past greatness. The decipherment of ancient writing, like cracking a complex code, allows us to penetrate the thoughts and feelings of people who lived millennia ago. Studying artifacts, like reading old books, allows us to reconstruct a picture of the past, recreate the way of life and culture of these vanished peoples. These lost civilizations serve as a stark reminder of the fragility of human culture and the vital importance of preserving knowledge for future generations. They teach us to appreciate what we have today and to tirelessly strive to understand the past in order to better understand the present and anticipate the future. But we should not despair, because not everything is irretrievably lost. Even if magnificent libraries have turned to dust, and precious texts have been damaged by time or consigned to oblivion, humanity has not lost hope of understanding what was written on these pages of history. We are talking about decipherment, the fascinating process of decoding lost languages and writing systems, one of the most fascinating and complex tasks ever faced by the human mind. Imagine discovering an ancient text written in unfamiliar symbols, like a message from another world. You know neither the language in which it is written, nor the meaning of these mysterious signs. Behind the scenes of every successful decipherment lies a fascinating story of an unquenchable thirst for knowledge, a sharp mind, and of course, a happy coincidence. A striking example is the decipherment of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, whose meaning remained buried under the sands of time for centuries. The mysterious symbols that adorned the majestic temples and tombs of the pharaohs long defied understanding. The breakthrough came in 1799, when the Rosetta Stone was found, which became a real key to the puzzle. On this priceless find was carved the same text in 3 versions. In ancient Greek, Demotic, a later form of the Egyptian language, and, in fact, hieroglyphs. Thanks to this, scientists were able to compare the familiar Greek text with the mysterious hieroglyphs, opening the way to their decipherment. The central figure in this story was the French researcher Jean-François Champollion, who devoted many years of his life to studying the Rosetta Stone and other ancient Egyptian texts. He meticulously compared symbols, analyzed the structure of the language, identified patterns, as if putting together a complex puzzle. And finally, his efforts were crowned with success. Champollion managed to decipher the hieroglyphs and proved that these are not just decorative drawings, but a developed writing system capable of conveying complex thoughts and concepts. However, Egyptian hieroglyphs are just one page in the endless book of unsolved writings. In the world, there are still other mysterious writing systems, which the best minds of our time are struggling to decipher, hoping to lift the veil of secrecy over ancient civilizations. The mysterious writings of antiquity hold the keys to understanding past eras. Linear B, which revealed its secrets in the mid-20th century, revealed to the world an early form of the Greek language, while its counterpart, Linear A, is still silent, remaining an undeciphered challenge for researchers. The Mayan codices, these ancient manuscripts, covered with complex hieroglyphs, represent another puzzle that scientists are still struggling with today, striving to unravel their hidden meaning. Deciphering lost languages and writing systems is a task that requires not only deep knowledge, but also extraordinary patience. On this path, researchers are faced with numerous difficulties. An unknown language, like an impenetrable wall, deprives them of the opportunity to use familiar tools, dictionaries and grammar rules. The fragmentary nature of the texts that have come down to us, like fragments of a broken mirror, makes it difficult to restore a complete picture. The complexity of ancient symbols, each of which can carry many meanings, requires careful analysis and interpretation. Despite all the obstacles, deciphering ancient writings is of immense importance for understanding the history and culture of humanity. It allows us to lift the veil of secrecy over the life, beliefs, customs, and achievements of ancient civilizations. Through decipherment, we can trace the evolution of languages and writing systems over the centuries, deepening our knowledge of humanity's past and understanding how the modern world was formed. Decipherment is not just a scientific study. It is an exciting journey through time, an opportunity to touch the voices of people who lived thousands of years ago and learn about their world firsthand. Exciting discoveries await us, capable of overturning our understanding of history and culture. It is possible that previously unknown languages and writings will be deciphered in the future, which will open doors to understanding forgotten civilizations and their heritage. It is quite possible to discover new texts that, like rays of light, illuminate the dark corners of the past, reveal secrets, and allow us to take a fresh look at known events. Deciphering ancient artifacts and manuscripts is not only a scientific breakthrough, but also a symbol of hope for the restoration of lost knowledge, a testament to the limitless possibilities of the human intellect in its quest to comprehend the unknown. Chapter 4 explores the role of chance and intentionality in the process of knowledge loss. The first part examines accidental losses caused by fires and disasters, along with wars, censorship, and religious persecution. Chance is another significant factor leading to the destruction of libraries, archives, and individual books. We are talking about natural disasters such as fires, floods, and earthquakes, which ruthlessly erase priceless treasures of human thought from the face of the earth. Fires are undoubtedly one of the most common culprits in the loss of knowledge. Fire, like an insatiable beast, devoured entire library buildings, turning priceless books and manuscripts into ashes, destroying knowledge that had been accumulated for centuries. The tragic Great Fire of Alexandria, which likely destroyed a significant part of the famous Library of Alexandria, one of the largest centers of knowledge in the ancient world, will forever remain in human memory. No less devastating was the fire in the US Congress in 1814, when British troops burned down the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., where the Library of Congress was located during the war with Great Britain. This loss was enormous, but thanks to the efforts of many people, the library was restored. History holds many other examples of fires that destroyed libraries around the world, causing irreparable damage to the cultural heritage of humanity. Fire, furiously devouring everything in its path, erased not only priceless folios, but also the very repositories of wisdom from the face of the earth, turning the painstaking work of generations into ashes. The flames spared no one. People died in the fire. Works of art and architectural masterpieces turned to nothing. The consequences of these fiery tragedies were truly devastating. But fires are just one of the threats hanging over the treasury of human knowledge. Natural disasters such as floods and earthquakes also brought destruction and oblivion. Libraries and archives fell victim to the raging elements. Buildings turned into ruins. Books and manuscripts were buried under layers of water or buried alive in the earth's interior. An example is Venice, a city whose fate is inextricably linked with water. For centuries, the libraries and archives of this unique city have suffered from devastating floods, causing irreparable damage to its cultural heritage. Another example is Japan, a country where earthquakes are a harsh reality. Underground tremors have repeatedly destroyed libraries and archives, destroying priceless books and manuscripts containing the wisdom of centuries. Wars and armed conflicts also left their bloody mark on the history of lost knowledge. Cities turned into ruins, libraries wiped off the face of the earth, books consigned to the flames. These are the tragic consequences of military operations. War is always destruction and irreparable losses that set humanity back in its development. We should not forget about the human factor. Negligence and careless handling of books and manuscripts, improper storage, and lack of proper care also led to the loss of valuable knowledge that could have enriched future generations. The role of chance in the tragic history of the disappearance of knowledge cannot be overestimated. Unforeseen fires caused by lightning strikes or negligence, devastating floods that wipe entire cities off the face of the earth, horrific earthquakes that turn ancient repositories of wisdom into ruins, bloody wars that sweep away everything in their path. All these factors cause the irretrievable loss of priceless books and manuscripts. It was mere chance that determined which fragments of knowledge would survive the chaos and which would be forever buried beneath the rubble of history. One need only imagine the untamed power of natural forces, raging flames devouring everything in their path, relentless floods engulfing entire settlements, or subterranean tremors reducing centuries-old structures to dust. Let us also envision the destructive force of war, merciless bombardments obliterating flourishing cities, barbaric destruction of libraries housing humanity's invaluable heritage. Chance presents itself as a tragic and unpredictable force, capable in an instant of destroying all that has been created by the painstaking labor of generations. It ruthlessly annihilates knowledge accumulated over centuries, reminding us of the fragility of human culture and the vital necessity of cherishing our intellectual heritage. However, as we move into the second part of the narrative, we encounter an even darker side of the loss of knowledge, the deliberate destruction of books. We are no longer speaking of accidental fires or natural disasters, but of conscious and purposeful actions aimed at eradicating unwanted information and suppressing dissent. Here, vandalism, ideological struggle, and censorship come into play, leading to the disappearance of priceless manuscripts that could shed light on many mysteries of the past. The eradication of books is a barbaric act that encroaches upon cultural heritage and intellectual freedom. It is nothing less than an attempt to consign historical memory to oblivion, distort current reality, and subjugate the future. One of the most tragic manifestations of this practice is the consignment of books to the flames. The ominous bonfires of the Inquisition, in which books declared heretical were turned to ashes, were a horrifying spectacle. In these fiery embraces, works that did not conform to religious dogmas and dared to question the authority of the Church disappeared. One can vividly imagine a square filled with a mass of people. In the very center stands a bonfire, its fiery tongues reaching skyward. The clergy commit the books to the flames, accompanying this with curses against their creators and content. The crowd rejoices, celebrating the destruction of sedition. Another infamous example of book burning is the Nazi actions. In 1933, the Nazi regime organized large-scale book burnings throughout Germany. In the flames of the bonfires perished works branded as un-German, including the works of Jewish, communist, and liberal authors. Imagination conjures up pictures of students, clad in uniform, throwing books into the raging flames. The crowd chants slogans, praising the Nazi regime. In the fire perish the priceless creations of outstanding writers, thinkers, and scientists. The destruction of books is not merely an act of vandalism. It is an instrument of control over information, suppression of dissent, and shaping of public opinion. He who possesses power over information possesses power over society. Political and religious censorship appears in history as a powerful tool designed to eradicate books and suppress any manifestations of dissent. Those in power, whether secular rulers or spiritual leaders, have always striven for total control over information flows, seeing this as the key to strengthening their own power and protecting established dogmas. Censorship, in its essence, is a direct encroachment on freedom of speech and self-expression, depriving people of the opportunity to receive diverse information, think for themselves, and form their own worldview. The destruction of books led to irreparable losses for culture and art, depriving humanity of works capable of enriching the spiritual world and expanding the horizons of knowledge. Masterpieces that could have become a source of inspiration for future generations were irretrievably lost. Each book consigned to the flames is an unhealed wound on the body of human civilization, a loss of knowledge, wisdom, and beauty. What are the tragic consequences of these acts of vandalism for culture and society as a whole? The destruction of books stifled creative initiative, fettered freedom of thought, and hindered the progress of science, philosophy, and culture. It sowed the seeds of ignorance, fanaticism, and violence, casting society into the abyss of obscurantism. However, even the most brutal repressions could not completely eradicate the desire for knowledge. Despite all the efforts of the authorities and the church, books continued to live in people's minds, passed down by word of mouth, copied by hand, and carefully stored in secret places, awaiting their hour. The destruction of books represents a profound tragedy in the annals of human history, serving as a stark reminder of the defenselessness of cultural heritage and the urgent need to defend freedom of speech and intellectual self-expression. This sad fact teaches us to value knowledge and pass it on to future generations as a priceless treasure. In Chapter 5, titled Lost Languages, Linguistic Mysteries, and Their Impact on Culture, we move from discussing books created in various languages and the complexities of deciphering ancient scripts to an even more mysterious realm, the world of vanished languages. These languages, once vibrant and alive, have faded into oblivion, leaving behind only ghostly traces, fragments of inscriptions, or, in some cases, complete and silent obliteration. Language is not merely a tool for communication, but a mirror reflecting a people's culture, history, and worldview. It shapes our thinking and defines our perception of the world. The disappearance of a language entails the loss of a part of culture, historical heritage, and valuable human experience. Imagine a situation where you encounter an inscription in a completely unknown language. You possess neither the grammar, alphabet, nor the meaning of individual words. How, in such a case, can one understand the meaning of what is written? This is the linguistic mystery that linguists have been tirelessly working to unravel for many years. The annals of linguistic history hold many secrets related to extinct languages, from which only fragmented information has reached us. Prominent examples include the Etruscan language, spoken by the Etruscan people who inhabited the Apennine Peninsula before the arrival of the Romans. Despite the fact that individual words and phrases of this language have survived to this day, its structure and origin remain terra incognita for scholars. Another enigma is the language of the Minoan civilization, captured in Linear A script. This language, which existed on the island of Crete during the heyday of Minoan culture, has yet to be deciphered, baffling linguists worldwide. Equally mysterious is the language of the Hattians, an ancient people who lived in central Anatolia. Information about the Hattic language is extremely scarce, allowing it to be classified as one of the isolated languages, not related to other known language families. Finally, the Proto-Indo-European language, spoken by the inhabitants of the Indus Valley during the Harappan civilization, also represents an unsolved mystery. The writing system of this language has not yet been deciphered, which prevents us from learning more about this ancient culture. All these lost languages have left behind many questions that linguists are trying to answer using various methods. What was their significance? What was their structure? How are they related to other languages? One such method is comparative analysis, which allows for the comparison of words and grammatical structures of different languages. If common features are found between two languages, it can be assumed that they originated from a common ancestor. Another important tool in the arsenal of linguists is reconstruction, a method used to restore the presumed appearance of a lost language. Relying on comparative analysis and other methods, scientists attempt to recreate the words, grammar, and pronunciation of the extinct language. The study of inscriptions and artifacts provides invaluable assistance in the study of lost languages. Analysis of ancient texts and objects of material culture can provide valuable clues about the meaning of words and the structure of the language, shedding light on its mysteries. Imagine you are face to face with an ancient inscription written in a language long gone. Before you are mysterious signs, as if holding a secret meaning, but eluding understanding. You immerse yourself in the process of decipherment, mobilizing all your knowledge and intuition. It is a task full of challenges, but at the same time breathtaking. How does language influence culture, shaping our perception of the world? Language is a powerful tool that has a profound impact on our thinking, determining how we perceive the surrounding reality. It serves as a mirror reflecting the history, values, and beliefs of the people who speak it. Different ways of expressing time in the languages of the world. For example, some of them lack the concept of time in the sense we are accustomed to, can influence the perception of time by native speakers of these languages, forming a different sense of temporality in them. The peculiarities of vocabulary also play an important role. Language can reflect the unique features of the environment and culture. For example, in the languages of peoples living in snowy conditions, there is a rich palette of words to denote various types of snow, which indicates a deep connection between language and the environment. When a language disappears from the face of the earth, a part of culture, a part of history, a part of human experience disappears with it. This is an irreplaceable loss, depriving us of a valuable heritage. However, the study of lost languages can be the key to understanding the history of mankind, expanding our worldview, and learning about the diversity of cultures. Each lost language is a lost chapter in the history of human civilization. This is a bitter reminder of how we must cherish cultural diversity and make every effort to preserve languages while they are still alive, to prevent the disappearance of valuable testimonies of human history. Lost languages appear before us as unsolved puzzles, holding echoes of the past. They tell of the ways people communicated, their thinking, and their perception of the world around them. They serve as a stark reminder of the irreparable losses that the disappearance of a language entails. In Chapter 6, we will turn our gaze to the role of scribes and keepers of knowledge. Previously, we touched upon the theme of linguistic secrets and hidden knowledge, buried under the ashes of fires and the oppression of censorship. Now, let us move to the abode of silence and concentration, where knowledge was passed down from generation to generation, where every word was worth its weight in gold, and every sheet of parchment was a priceless heritage. We will talk about scribes, people whose painstaking work allowed us to preserve this knowledge. Imagine an era when the printing press had not yet been invented, when every book was created by hand. Imagine people who dedicated their lives to copying books, preserving knowledge, and passing it on to posterity. These were scribes, monks, scholars, and clerks, whose work can truly be called titanic. The work of a scribe required immense patience, perseverance, and concentration. He sat at a table, lit by the dim light of candles or oil lamps, for hours, days, and months, monotonously repeating the same movements. Before him lay a sheet of parchment or papyrus, on which he meticulously wrote letters, word by word, line by line. In those days, when there were no printing presses, scribes played a crucial role in preserving and disseminating knowledge, armed with a goose quill, which they carefully dipped in ink made from soot, nutshells, oak galls, and other ingredients. These masters painstakingly wrote each letter, paying close attention to its shape and size. They were required not only to have calligraphic skills, but also a keen eye and a phenomenal memory. The work of a scribe was fraught with considerable difficulties and health hazards. Long hours spent in an uncomfortable position in dim light inevitably led to impaired vision, back pain, and a variety of other ailments. In addition, scribes constantly faced a shortage of materials such as parchment, ink, and quills. One can imagine how difficult it was for a scribe in winter, when he was forced to work in an unheated room. His fingers went numb from the cold, and the ink thickened. But he had to overcome all difficulties to preserve precious knowledge for posterity. Monasteries, temples, and other abodes where scribes worked eventually became real centers of knowledge storage, libraries. However, libraries were not just repositories of books. They were places where people could learn, read, communicate, and exchange ideas. Imagine a library in a medieval monastery, a spacious, quiet room filled with shelves lined with books. Monks stroll leisurely between the shelves, gently touching the bindings. The air is filled with the unique aroma of parchment, ink, and wax, creating an atmosphere of reverence and wisdom. Not only religious abodes, but also secular institutions contributed to the preservation of humanity's intellectual heritage. Scholars, universities, academies, and various scientific societies played a key role in preserving and disseminating knowledge. Erudites devoted themselves to studying ancient manuscripts, making scientific breakthroughs, and creating new literary works. Universities, which arose in the Middle Ages, became real citadels of education and science, forging new generations of scientists and scribes. Within their walls, philosophy, theology, medicine, jurisprudence, and other important disciplines were studied in depth. Academies, which flourished during the Renaissance and Enlightenment, served as centers for scientific research and cultural exchange. Prominent scientists, artists, and writers gathered in these intellectual clubs to discuss innovative ideas and exchange experiences. These dedicated people, despite the difficulties and dangers, selflessly preserved knowledge for future generations. They deeply realized the value of education, the irresistible power of knowledge, and dedicated their lives to the noble goal of preserving and disseminating intellectual heritage. Scribes, monks, scholars, librarians, they were all heroes of their time, working in the most difficult conditions. They waged a tireless struggle against ignorance, barbarism, and oblivion, protecting the knowledge we possess today. Tremendous efforts were made to preserve even a small fraction of the knowledge we have today. Countless people have dedicated their lives to this worthy cause. We should feel deep gratitude towards the scribes and keepers of knowledge, paying tribute to their selfless work and striving for the further preservation and dissemination of knowledge. Their activity serves as an inspiring example, reminding us that knowledge is the greatest value of humanity. Moving on to Chapter 7, which tells of myths and legends about lost knowledge, we leave the world of real events and plunge into the world of legends. In this world, where truth is closely intertwined with fiction, lost knowledge becomes an object of admiration, fear, and endless searches. Myths and legends about lost knowledge reflect an unquenchable thirst for knowledge and a fear of the unknown, telling of the search for secrets once known to the ancients, but now hidden from us. Perhaps the most famous legend of lost knowledge is the legend of Atlantis. This story, told by Plato, tells of a mighty island that sank into the sea. Legend has it that the Atlanteans possessed incredible knowledge and technology, but were destroyed for their pride and immorality. Imagine Atlantis, a thriving civilization with advanced technologies, majestic cities, and magnificent temples. The Atlanteans possessed the secrets of energy management, the construction of giant structures, and perhaps even the secret of immortality. However, their arrogance led to a tragic outcome. An earthquake and tsunami engulfed the island, forever burying its knowledge in the depths of the sea. The legend of Atlantis still haunts researchers and writers, many of whom believe that it holds the key to understanding the past and the future. Along with the legends of Atlantis, humanity has for centuries dreamed of other lost civilizations and secrets hidden from the uninitiated. Tibetan legends mention Shambhala, a mythical kingdom where, according to legend, esoteric knowledge about the laws of the universe and spiritual growth is stored. Legends of El Dorado, a fabulous country of gold, stirred the imagination of the conquistadors, who dreamed of untold riches and the secrets of alchemy. Agati is another mysterious place, an underground kingdom inhabited by sages who possess ancient knowledge passed down from generation to generation. Imagine a lost city, swallowed up by impenetrable jungles, or buried under the shifting sands of the desert. Imagine secret libraries filled with ancient manuscripts containing knowledge of medicine, astronomy, and magic, capable of turning our understanding of the world upside down. Imagine treasures guarded by ancient spells and ingenious traps, securely protecting the secrets of the past. Myths and legends about lost knowledge are full of deep symbolism and allegories, using vivid images to convey complex ideas. The lost paradise symbolizes the loss of innocence and serenity, as well as man's unquenchable thirst for perfection. The tree of knowledge represents knowledge, which, like a double-edged sword, can bring both good and harm. The philosopher's stone symbolizes the highest wisdom and the ability to transform reality, and hidden treasures symbolize spiritual wealth and inner knowledge, accessible only to those who are willing to seek. Myths are a reflection of the deepest aspirations of human nature to comprehend the mysteries of the universe. Man, as a curious being, has always had an unquenchable thirst for knowledge, striving to penetrate the essence of things, to reveal the laws governing the universe, and to know himself. Myths also express the eternal human fear of the unknown. Ignorance breeds anxiety and apprehension, because what is hidden behind the veil of secrecy can harbor both dangers and attractive prospects. In addition, myths are permeated with nostalgia for bygone times. The human mind tends to idealize the past, endowing it with features of perfection, and believing that once lost knowledge possessed greater depth and comprehensiveness. An integral part of the mythological worldview is the belief in the supernatural. Myths and legends testify to the fact that people have long believed in the existence of forces beyond human understanding, in certain higher entities that influence the course of events. Myths and legends about lost knowledge are fascinating stories that live in the depths of our imagination. They awaken in us dreams and reflections, pushing us to search for truth. These legends demonstrate that knowledge is not just a set of information, but a powerful force capable of transforming the world. It is worth considering that each legend may contain a grain of truth. Perhaps the knowledge that we consider irretrievably lost is waiting for its time to be rediscovered in the future, as a result of new scientific breakthroughs and bold ideas. Legends of lost knowledge are an integral part of our culture, our history, the very essence of human existence. They testify to the fact that the search for knowledge is an endless process that lasts forever. Let these legends be your faithful companions on an enthralling journey through the world of dreams and fantasies. Chapter 8: Irretrievably Lost Masterpieces of Art and Sound. After reflecting on the power of words, the diversity of languages, and the historical value of manuscripts, our gaze turns to the enchanting realm of visual images and harmonious sounds, to the domain of lost art and music. In this sphere, talented artists created immortal masterpieces, and musical instruments produce melodies capable of captivating hearts and awakening inspiration even today. Art and music, like a mirror, reflect the depths of the human soul, the innermost corners of the inner world, a storm of emotions and a spectrum of experiences. When a work of art or a musical creation disappears, the world loses a piece of its culture, a page of history, and a grain of invaluable experience. The history of art is full of examples of irretrievably lost paintings, sculptures, and frescoes. The original works of ancient masters have not survived to this day, and their greatness can only be judged by surviving copies and admiring descriptions. Time and the elements have also spared no masterpieces of the Renaissance. Many canvases by Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and Raphael have been lost or irreparably damaged. Military conflicts and revolutions have also left their tragic mark, destroying or mutilating countless paintings and sculptures. Imagination conjures a picture created by the hand of a genius. Vibrant colors, filigree details, expressive faces, and a captivating plot. This work could have amazed the viewer with its beauty and depth, telling of life, love, and the inevitability of death. The art of sculpture, unfortunately, is not immune to losses. Time and circumstances ruthlessly deprive the world of masterpieces, leaving only fragments of past grandeur. Suffice it to recall the destroyed statues of antiquity, the majestic images of Greek and Roman gods and heroes, whose marble bodies fell victim to wars, vandalism, and indifference. The losses of the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, when priceless creations of sculptors disappeared into the abyss of history, are also irreparable. One can only imagine a sculpture born from pliable marble or cast in sonorous bronze. The ideal proportions of the body, the inspired face, the graceful pose, everything in it breathes harmony and perfection. This work of art is capable of conveying to the viewer not only the beauty of the human form, but also the inexhaustible strength of spirit contained within it. Musical art also bears the burden of loss. Works created in antiquity have come down to us only in fragmentary information. We know about the existence of the richest musical culture of ancient Greece and Rome, but its musical notation, unfortunately, is irretrievably lost. The same sad fate befell many musical works of the Middle Ages and the Renaissance. Priceless scores created by brilliant composers were lost or damaged. Wars and revolutions, like a merciless fire, destroyed entire layers of musical culture. erasing inspired creations from human memory. One can imagine a melody born of the fantasy of a great composer, the captivating beauty of the theme, the harmonious interweaving of chords, the expressive sound of instruments. Everything in it is filled with deep meaning and feeling. This music is capable of calming a troubled soul, evoking a storm of emotions, inspiring new achievements, and opening new horizons. Why do masterpieces of art and musical creations disappear into the abyss of time? There are many reasons for this. Wars, like merciless whirlwinds, sweep away everything in their path. In eras of bloody battles and social upheavals, priceless works of art and scores became victims of barbarism, irretrievably disappearing in the fire or turning to ashes. No less destructive are fires, these all-consuming disasters, capable of turning buildings, where the treasures of human genius were carefully stored, into ashes in an instant. Natural disasters, such as earthquakes, floods, and other natural disasters, also bring death to works of art and music, burying them under rubble or carrying them away in raging torrents. Acts of vandalism and deliberate destruction, alas, also make their sad contribution to this process. At times, driven by ignorance or malice, people destroy what should have been a source of pride and admiration. And of course, we must not forget about the relentless passage of time, which gradually destroys and spoils even the most durable materials from which works of art and music are created. How would our perception of the world change if all those masterpieces that have been lost had survived to this day? What new emotions and impressions could they give us, expanding our horizons and making us look at familiar things in a new way? Lost works could become the key to a deeper understanding of the history and culture of past eras, shedding light on forgotten events and traditions. And finally, they could serve as a source of inspiration for modern creators, encouraging them to create new, equally brilliant works of art and music. Imagine for a moment that you have the opportunity to hear a long-forgotten melody or see a painting that was considered irretrievably lost. What feelings would overwhelm you at that moment? How would your perception of the world change, your awareness of human history? Lost masterpieces of art and musical compositions are an integral part of our past, forever gone from our sight. But can anyone forbid us from dreaming about these creations? We are free to imagine their magnificence and power, their ability to touch hearts and inspire feats. Let these dreams be your guide to a world of peace and serene sleep. Chapter 9 of our conversation is devoted to lost inventions and technologies. We have already discussed books, languages, works of art, and how much has been forgotten. But what if we turn our gaze to another area where losses are felt particularly acutely? We will be talking about technologies, the existence of which is confirmed by ancient sources, but which, unfortunately, have been lost to us. Imagine an era when humanity possessed knowledge and technologies that possibly surpassed our own. Technologies capable of transforming the world beyond recognition, but which disappeared like a mirage in the desert. Next, we will look at some striking examples of such lost inventions and technologies. The Byzantine Empire left its mark on history thanks to its Greek fire, a flammable mixture that did not extinguish even in water. This formidable weapon was used in naval battles, and its composition was kept in strict secrecy. Similarly, ancient craftsmen possessed unique knowledge in the field of metallurgy, creating alloys that surpassed modern counterparts in strength and durability. Take, for example, Damascus steel, from which legendary swords were forged, capable of cleaving stone. No less impressive are the complex mechanisms created in antiquity. The Antikythera mechanism, discovered by archaeologists, served to predict the movement of celestial bodies, demonstrating the deep knowledge of ancient Greeks in astronomy and mechanics. One can imagine a stream of Greek fire erupting from a Byzantine ship, devouring enemy ships, or a Damascus blade that easily cuts through stone without losing its sharpness, or the Antikythera mechanism, accurately calculating the trajectories of celestial bodies. These technological wonders were the result of outstanding engineering and scientific achievements, requiring in-depth knowledge of chemistry, physics, and mechanics. However, despite their value, many of these technologies were lost. There are several reasons for this. First, the secrets of production were often passed on in a narrow circle of masters, and the death of one of them could lead to the loss of valuable knowledge. Second, the creation and maintenance of complex technologies required significant financial investments, and the cessation of funding inevitably led to their decline. Third, the change of eras and the emergence of new technologies could displace the old ones, making them irrelevant. We must not forget about political instability. Wars, revolutions, and other upheavals led to the destruction of technologies and the death of specialists who possessed the secrets of their creation. Finally, climate change and resource scarcity could also have played a role in the disappearance of ancient technologies, depriving craftsmen of the necessary materials and conditions for work. Gone into oblivion, inventions have left an indelible mark in the annals of history, serving as an eternal reminder of the boundless potential of the human mind. They testify to our ability to reach incredible heights when we are driven by a thirst for knowledge and innovation. Imagine how radically our world would have been transformed if these technologies had survived to this day. Perhaps humanity would already be exploring the vastness of space, conquering all diseases, and building an ideal society. But even having lost these achievements, we carefully preserve the memory of them. Drawing inspiration for new research and discoveries. Think about what could have been. Cities lit by an unquenchable flame, mechanisms working without electricity, weapons that know no defeat. Lost inventions and technologies are an unsolved mystery, a challenge for inquisitive minds. They remind us that knowledge is a powerful force capable of changing the course of history. And let these reflections become a lullaby, carrying you away to the realm of dreams. Chapter 10 is dedicated to modern searches and hopes for new discoveries. Having come a long way in the footsteps of lost knowledge, immersed in the depths of past eras, we do not stop there. Modern technologies and methods open up unprecedented opportunities for preserving and searching for lost knowledge, giving hope for new achievements. In today's world, where digital technologies reign supreme, computers, the World Wide Web, scanners, and digital libraries have become our steadfast allies in preserving and disseminating knowledge. One of the cornerstones of this digital revolution is book digitization, the process of transforming paper volumes and ancient manuscripts into digital files. These digital treasures can be stored on computers, external hard drives, and servers, but most importantly, they become accessible to people anywhere on the globe. The advantages of digitization are undeniable. Firstly, it ensures preservation. Unlike their paper counterparts, digitized books are impervious to fire, water, and the ravages of time. Secondly, it provides accessibility. Finding and downloading a digital book online takes only a few minutes. Thirdly, it facilitates distribution. digital copies can be shared with friends and colleagues without fear of damaging the original. Thanks to these advantages, electronic libraries are mushrooming, offering millions of digitized books. These libraries open the doors to knowledge for anyone with internet access. Archaeological excavations offer another pathway to lost knowledge. Archaeologists, like detectives of the past, unearth new texts and artifacts that allow us to glimpse into history. Among the most significant discoveries are the Dead Sea Scrolls, found in caves near the Dead Sea. These scrolls contain texts of immense religious and historical significance. Furthermore, new codices and fragments of ancient manuscripts are regularly discovered, shedding light on the life and culture of ancient civilizations. The latest achievements in scientific and technological progress are opening up unprecedented horizons for humanity in the study of ancient manuscripts and artifacts, providing unprecedented accuracy and productivity of analysis. In particular, advanced scanning methods allow the creation of highly detailed visual copies of ancient texts and objects of material culture, opening up new perspectives for their study. Powerful computer algorithms, in turn, provide invaluable assistance in deciphering complex linguistic systems and complex written sources that previously seemed an insurmountable barrier to understanding. In addition, modern computing power makes it possible to recreate lost fragments of damaged texts and artifacts, bringing back to life priceless evidence of past eras. Thus, modern technologies act as reliable partners in humanity's quest to understand lost knowledge, making it possible not only to preserve and study the heritage of the past, but also to deeply understand it. In this regard, a logical question arises about what other opportunities will open up for us in the future. Undoubtedly, the further development of innovative technologies will steadily expand the horizons of our capabilities in the field of preserving and searching for lost knowledge. It is likely that archaeologists, linguists, and historians will make new sensational discoveries that will radically change existing ideas about the past. In addition, international cooperation and the pooling of efforts of scientists from different countries play an important role, which will allow achieving significant success in the study of world history. The future holds many unsolved mysteries. However, we can confidently express the hope that humanity will be able to discover even more lost knowledge, delve deeper into the secrets of the past, and pass on this invaluable knowledge to future generations. In conclusion, it is worth emphasizing the exceptional importance of preserving accumulated knowledge and passing on rich experience to the next generations. Our story is coming to an end, and we look back at the journey through the world of lost knowledge. We have witnessed how countless books and manuscripts have been lost to oblivion, destroyed by the flames of wars and fires, suppressed by censorship, and buried under the burden of chance. We learned about the sad fate of the libraries of antiquity, about the secrets of alchemy, shrouded in a mystical aura, and about the ongoing struggle for freedom of speech and self-expression. We touched upon the heritage of extinct civilizations, whose knowledge, unfortunately, has reached us only fragmentarily. Lost knowledge is not just a page of history. It is a stark reminder of how fragile and vulnerable knowledge is, how easily it can be lost. This is a call to value what we have and to tirelessly strive to preserve knowledge for future generations. We remembered the magnificent libraries where knowledge from all over the world was collected about the ancient Egyptian papyri, the clay tablets of Mesopotamia, and the parchments of Pergamon. We felt the spirit of the Library of Alexandria, this temple of wisdom, and imagined how the merciless flames of fire devoured priceless scrolls. We saw how alchemists, those medieval scientists and mystics, tried to unravel the secrets of nature and the human soul, clothing their knowledge in symbols and allegories. We remembered the forbidden books, those who fought for freedom of speech and thought, defending the right to self-expression. We have learned that many great discoveries, works of art, and literature have been irretrievably lost to humanity. We have witnessed the destruction of books and people sacrificing their lives to defend their beliefs. We have touched the legacy of vanished civilizations whose knowledge, unfortunately, has only partially reached us. Information is a powerful tool that opens doors to a deeper understanding of the world around us. Erudition serves as the foundation for the progressive development of society. The wider the horizons of knowledge, the greater the potential for creation. Intelligence allows us to make informed decisions, find solutions to complex situations, and chart a course toward prosperity. In this modern era of unprecedented access to information, it is especially important to recognize the value of knowledge and the need to preserve it for future generations. We must cultivate in people a desire for education and the pursuit of new knowledge. The current generation has a responsible mission as custodians of wisdom, obliging us to protect and disseminate accumulated knowledge. Using all the opportunities provided by the modern world, we must increase the intellectual wealth of humanity. A thirst for knowledge, unquenchable curiosity, an inquisitive mind, a love of reading, visiting libraries, and an interest in history are what drive progress. Each new bit of knowledge is a step towards a brighter future. Future generations will judge us on how we manage the intellectual heritage. By preserving and increasing knowledge, we create a solid foundation for a future full of opportunities and prosperity. Now is the time to release tension and allow yourself complete relaxation. You should detach yourself from thoughts of the past day. Feel your body gain pleasant heaviness and relax. Gradually, consciousness plunges into sleep, opening the door to a world of incredible dreams, filled with exciting adventures and new horizons. May the night bring peace and serenity, and may the dreams be vivid and inspiring. It is important to allow yourself to enjoy a sound and deep sleep that will restore strength and give vigor. Thank you for sharing this time.